What if reality is not shaped by force, but by mind? And what if your awareness is not separate from the intelligence that formed the universe? The Hermetica begins with a revelation that changes how self, cosmos, and freedom are understood. Hermetica, Corpus Hermeticum. Chapter 1. Poimandres, the revelation of mind. The Hermetica opens not with instruction, but with a vision. Hermes describes a moment when ordinary thought falls silent and awareness turns inward. In this stillness, a presence appears, Poimandres, described as the mind of the universe. Not a god in human form, but intelligence itself, speaking directly to consciousness. Poimandres explains that reality is born from mind. Before form, before matter, before time, there is awareness, self-knowing, and creative. The universe is not created by force, but by understanding. Mind contemplates itself, and through that contemplation, existence unfolds. Human beings are said to share in this same mind. We are not separate observers of the cosmos, but participants within it. Ignorance arises when awareness forgets its origin. Knowledge returns when the mind remembers itself. This remembering is not intellectual, it is experiential, a shift in perception rather than a collection of beliefs. Chapter 2. The nature of the cosmos and the human being. Poimandres continues by describing the structure of the cosmos. The universe is presented as ordered, alive, and intelligent. Everything that exists moves according to law, not randomness. Motion, rhythm, and harmony govern both the stars and the inner life of the human being. Humanity is described as unique. Born of both the material world and the divine mind, humans stand at the crossroads of nature and intelligence. This dual nature explains inner conflict. The body follows necessity while the mind longs for understanding. When consciousness identifies only with the body, it becomes bound. When it remembers its source, it becomes free. The Hermetica teaches that knowledge of the cosmos leads to knowledge of the self, and knowledge of the self leads back to the source of all things. To know the universe is to recognize order. To know oneself is to recognize awareness. Chapter 3. The illusion of death and the continuity of life. The Hermetica does not treat death as an ending. It is described as a transformation of state, not a loss of being. Nothing that truly exists is destroyed. Forms dissolve, but essence remains. Life moves through cycles of manifestation and withdrawal. Birth and death are movements within nature, not exits from reality. Fear arises from identifying with form. Wisdom arises from recognizing continuity beneath change. The text teaches that consciousness survives the dissolution of the body, not as personality, but as awareness returning to its source. This understanding shifts how life is lived. When death is no longer feared, attachment loosens. Freedom begins when the mind understands what it truly is, not a temporary form, but a participant in the eternal intelligence of the cosmos. Chapter 4. Knowledge and Ignorance. The Hermetica teaches that ignorance is the deepest cause of human suffering. This ignorance is not a lack of education, but a misunderstanding of one's own nature. When the mind does not know itself, it becomes confused by appearances. It mistakes what is temporary for what is essential. Knowledge, in this teaching, is liberation. Not because it adds something new, but because it removes illusion. To know oneself is to awaken from unconscious living. Life becomes guided by understanding rather than impulse. This knowledge is not gathered from belief alone. It arises through clarity, observation, and inner recognition. As ignorance fades, fear loses its power. The soul no longer moves blindly, but with awareness. Chapter 5. the descent of the soul into the world. The Hermetica describes the soul's entry into the material world as intentional. Consciousness descends in order to experience, express, and learn. In taking form, awareness becomes clothed in body, emotion, and thought. This creates the appearance of separation. The soul begins to identify with its outer garments. It forgets that these forms are temporary. This forgetting is the source of suffering. Not because the world is hostile, but because identity becomes misplaced. The purpose of wisdom is remembrance, to recognize that the soul wears form, but is not confined by it. Through understanding, consciousness regains perspective. Life is lived fully, without being mistaken for the whole. Chapter 6. The Harmony of the Cosmos. The Hermetica presents the universe as ordered and intelligent. Nothing exists by accident and nothing moves without cause. What appears chaotic is often misunderstood harmony. Law governs the movement of stars and the unfolding of human experience alike. This order is not imposed from outside. It arises naturally from the intelligence that permeates all things. Human beings live within this same order. Their thoughts, actions, and consequences unfold according to it. When one lives in ignorance of this harmony, life feels hostile. When one understands it, life feels guided. Wisdom is alignment with reality as it is. Resistance creates suffering, while understanding creates flow. Chapter 7. Mind as the creative principle. Mind is described as the shaping power behind existence, not imagination, but intelligent awareness. Through mind, form is conceived. Through mind, meaning is recognized. Human beings participate in this creative process. Their inner state influences their outer experience. When the mind is scattered, perception becomes distorted. Life feels fragmented and unstable. When the mind is clear, order appears naturally. Understanding replaces confusion. The Hermetica teaches that mastery begins with attention. What the mind consistently dwells upon, it strengthens. Chapter 8. The Path of Ascent. The Hermetica does not describe liberation as escape from the world. It describes a return to clarity while remaining within it. The ascent is an inward movement of understanding. It unfolds gradually, through recognition rather than force. Attachment loosens as identity shifts. The soul no longer clings to appearances. Emotion becomes balanced. Desire becomes refined. Thought no longer dominates awareness. It becomes a transparent instrument. The one who ascends remains present in life, but life no longer binds them. Freedom, in this sense, is inner. It is the recognition of what has always been true. Chapter 9. Thought, Action, and Consequence. The Hermetica teaches that thought is never neutral. Every movement of the mind carries direction and weight. What is held inwardly expresses outwardly. Action follows thought, and consequence follows action. This chain is not punishment, it is continuity. When the mind is unaware, actions are reactive. Life then appears unpredictable and hostile. When the mind becomes conscious, action becomes deliberate. Experience begins to reflect clarity rather than confusion. Responsibility in this teaching is not burden, it is power. To know that one participates in the shaping of experience is to regain authorship over one's life. Chapter 10. Freedom through Understanding. Freedom, according to the Hermetica, is not the absence of limitation. It is the absence of inner bondage. External conditions may change or remain the same. What matters is how the mind relates to them. One who understands the nature of mind and cosmos is no longer ruled by circumstance. Such a person acts within necessity without being enslaved by it. They move with the current rather than against it. This freedom is quiet. It does not announce itself. It appears as balance, discernment, and inner stability. Life is engaged fully, yet lightly. The Hermetica teaches that this freedom is available now. It arises through understanding, not escape.